Assemble! Stay dandy, baby. Not all things are set in stone, and sometimes fate itself can be changed, for better or for worse. That's the theme of the final 2 episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind. Hello, my friends. It's that time again. That time where we get to talk about the final episode of a season of the JoJo anime series. And I can honestly say that this one had a pretty powerful ending. It felt a little rushed, and it also had an ending that I honestly did not see coming at all. And in many senses, that allowed me to really enjoy it. I loved how everything got wrapped up with the Diavolo storyline. I just didn't expect that we were going to get some random adventure against some random-ass stand user in the final 2 episodes of the series, which ultimately was just a giant metaphor for challenging fate itself and showing that not all things are going to be set on one direct path. Things can change. Sometimes they can be better, sometimes they can be worse. And ultimately, that's what the final 2 episodes of the series are all about. I can go ahead and say, however, that Golden Wind, while it was an anime series that I absolutely loved, is not my favorite season of JoJo. I'm gonna go ahead and get this one right out of the way. Anybody who's been watching my JoJo anime reviews for a long time knows that I am just a big fan of Stardust Crusaders. Just saying the name gets me rock hard. I absolutely love that season. Everything about it, from the 80s aesthetic to the fact that all of the characters, despite the fact that half of them are high schoolers, look like freaking linebackers from Gears of War. The absolute absurdity of JoJo, I think, is played to its fullest strengths in that season. That being said, I'm not going to discount Golden Wind at all. In fact, I think it's one of the strongest anime experiences that I've ever seen, and just like the rest of the JoJo anime franchise, it manages to break out and do something different. That's what I've always loved about JoJo. It's not afraid to do things different than other anime series, whether it be through its characters, its storytelling, or just its incredibly distinctive art style. This is a series that owns up to what it truly is, and there is nothing like JoJo. So I can honestly say, if you had any reservations about checking out Golden Wind, just watch it. If you liked the previous JoJo, you're gonna like this one too. However, I felt that the ending was honestly one of the weakest aspects of the series. Now, again, that's just nitpicking. I still felt that overall these final 2 episodes were an incredibly strong experience. It's just not quite what I was actually expecting to see. I thought that there was going to be at least one big final epic battle with Diavolo. Maybe he was going to use some sort of ability to go up against Golden Experience Requiem, but no, Giorno just absolutely destroys Diavolo, basically with his big barrage from the end of the last episode. It all ended with Diavolo getting punched multiple times by Golden Experience Requiem, and then suddenly we get to see the true ability of Giorno's brand new stand. Essentially, what's going to happen to Diavolo is that he is going to be killed repeatedly, time and time again, in excruciating fashion, and there's nothing that he can do about it. He's not even going to be able to figure out how he actually died in the first place. Basically, he's going to be trapped within this space within his mind, where he's going to be continuously put through all of these scenarios where he's going to get killed in horrifying fashions. The first one of him getting killed by a bum in the sewers by getting stabbed. The next one where he's on an operating table where he was suddenly found dead but still alive to feel his entire body going through like the giant process of having it get chopped up and all of his organs removed, only for the next scenario of him to just get hit by a car. Basically, Diavolo is fucked. He has just got maybe one of the most devastating and painful and fucked up deaths from the entire series. And to be honest, Diavolo had it coming. This is the type of death that is made perfect for a villain like this, one who has manipulated so many people throughout his life to better his very own selfish desires. Now he is trapped to endlessly die forever, and honestly, I would just love to see a few more of the scenarios that they actually came up with. But really, these final 2 episodes are about giving us this brand new storyline, which is, believe it or not, a prequel to the entire series, before Bucciarati and his gang even met Giorno in the first place. And the entire cornerstone of this story is about what it means to challenge fate and how one can actually change it. So let's go ahead and dive into that right now. The entire storyline is all taking place before Bucciarati decides to go into the whole leaky-eyed Lucas situation where he meets Giorno for the first time, and before this can actually happen, he's actually met by this old man, this florist, who wants Bucciarati and his gang to get revenge for the death of his daughter, who was seemingly killed by this crazy sculptor. All of the police and all the investigators said that his daughter actually committed suicide because she jumped off of this building holding this very strange round stone. But the florist knows that something's not quite right here, and he wants Bucciarati and his team to investigate, so they decide to do that. With most of this being done by Mista, Bucciarati trusts him to go and try and find this sculptor so that he can basically sort of rough him up a little like the mob usually does, and try to get a little bit of information out of him. Bucciarati does let this florist know that they are not assassins, they are not here to kill this guy, but they're at least going to somehow get the truth out of him, even if it takes a little bit of violence, something that Mista has no problem with. The thing is, as they're making their way to this mysterious sculptor, Mista keeps coming across all of these weird mysterious stones. He even touches one of them, which actually says, like, murder on his hand. It, like, transfers it into his body, and he suddenly starts to see these stones all over the place. He eventually learns that these stones are actually created by this sculptor, and these stones are actually his very own stand, which appropriately enough are called the Rolling Stones. And this stand user is unlike any that I've actually seen from the franchise. I mean, he looks like a stand user, the guy sticks out like a sore thumb, he's definitely a JoJo character, but he doesn't seem to have any malicious intent, at least that's what's apparent on the outside. He has a unique stand which actually allows him to sort of predict the deaths of people, and when Mista actually finds this stone, he shoots it, and it suddenly transforms in the shape of Bruno Bucciarati when he gets killed by Diavolo and King Crimson earlier on in the series, when he had his fist, like, karate chop right through his body. And the stand user assures Mista that this will predict their deaths. However, if the person who's going to die touches the stone, they can actually end their suffering right there and just allow themselves to be killed, effectively being euthanized by this stone. It's strange, it's weird, and Mista's not accepting it. He just makes Swiss cheese out of this guy by blasting him multiple times with bullets, and is going to do everything in his power to prevent this supposed death of happening to Bruno, when suddenly we learn that this stone actually sort of gets attracted to the people that it's going to try and euthanize, so to speak, and it tries to make its way to Bruno, with Mista desperately trying to destroy it in the process, managing to shoot it a couple of times, and even grabbing it and jumping out of a window, dragging it across a building as he is falling down as it gets destroyed. At the last second, he does manage to destroy it, and thus he is actually able to change the fate of Bruno Bucciarati, but in the process is in a way sort of doomed some of his fellow friends. And that's one of the big themes of this entire episode, is that bad things can happen, and you can change them, but it's no guarantee that you're going to have any sort of fairy tale ending. But it does emphasize the fact that we have the ability to change our futures. By doing this, Mista destroying this rock not only was able to extend the life of Bruno Bucciarati through Giorno using his abilities, but he was able to make them go further on this journey so that they could discover the identity of the boss and eventually take him down. It's a story that at first seems incredibly random and almost seems like it doesn't belong in the finale, but honestly, I thought it kind of worked. It wasn't the typical type of final big episode that I've seen in other anime series, but for the story that this one was trying to tell, I thought that it was infinitely interesting, I have to say. I will say, though, that it did kind of catch me off guard how it sort of came out of nowhere, but I really appreciated the message that it was actually giving the entire time. It's some pretty strong material, and they could have just given us a stereotypical ending of Giorno punching Diavolo for like 30 minutes straight, but no, they gave us something that was a little more thoughtful and something that I think people are going to appreciate the more that they actually see it. Now, the good news is there is a little bit more of an epilogue for the series. We do get a true finale to everything. After that story wraps up, we finally go back to Giorno and Trish and Mista as they make their way to the Colosseum, with both Trish and Mista gaining a much stronger relationship with one another, becoming friends, and they might as well become love interests at this point, which I thought was kind of interesting. And they're excited to see that possibly Bucciarati could return, but of course they do not know the truth yet. We also get to see that, believe it or not, Polnareff is still going to be alive, but he's destined to live in a turtle. Since his body is gone, and because he's the turtle isn't going to be able to do its thing anymore, he's basically just going to hang out in this thing as a ghost, so I guess it's cool that he gets to stay around and basically be the pet of Giorno at this point. And the series ends with one final scene of Giorno eventually becoming the boss of the organization. Being basically christened into this place, everybody starts kissing his hand, knowing that he is basically the godfather of this entire place. It's pretty freaking cool. It's a great punctuation to the rest of the series. I wish we could have seen more of this. However, I think it's just the perfect way to end this show. We didn't need to see some long, ridiculous ceremony. In fact, the entire final scene of him actually becoming like the head of this organization is perfect. It's like something out of The Godfather. It just freaking works. What's the rundown on the final 2 episodes of the series and the entire series overall? Guys, this was an incredible experience. I can honestly say that every single time there's a brand new JoJo anime, it manages to surprise me in a completely different way. That's what I really love about the show. There's no repeating in this series. Every single season not only manages to be a continuation of the story, but also manages to do something completely distinctive and make itself like its very own show, to the point where you could pretty much watch any season and you'll get a pretty firm appreciation with it without even having to watch the previous ones. Sure, there's going to be callbacks and all sorts of homages to the previous show, but still, that's what's so amazing about the JoJo series. It can build upon itself while being something completely new every single time. It still surprises me that the season opened up with the return of like Koichi and Jotaro, and we do not even see them for the rest of the series. They could have easily brought them in and just did all of that crazy fan service to appease the fans, but no, they gave us all of these new characters who managed to be interesting. And while this is not my favorite JoJo anime series, I think this is probably my favorite cast of characters. I love Bruno and his gang. They're all so freaking awesome. And I do love that the final 2 episodes actually manages to give us some more scenes with Panicotta Fugo, a character who was effectively written out of the entire series, but they actually allowed him to do something in these episodes. He even saved Mista when he was falling out of the freaking building, holding onto the rock by driving underneath him with the car, just so that he could give him the recorder that he forgot. It was funny, it was ridiculous, and it was just really great to see that character return overall. This was an incredibly strong experience from beginning to end, whether it be the character design, the amazing storytelling, or just the battles themselves. Easily, the best thing about the JoJo anime series has got to be the action scenes. The amount of creativity that they pump into these things just always manages to surprise me, and it makes it so you can never guess what is actually going to happen next. I could not have predicted that Diavolo was going to be defeated this way, and boy, what a defeat it was. I still stand firm that he's not my favorite villain of the series. I got a lot of flack for that in my last review by mentioning that I felt that he was kind of weak when compared to, say, Dio or Kira Yoshikage. I just felt that those villains were a lot stronger, with Dio being sort of the more stereotypical, over-the-top anime villain, and Kira being something kind of unique. But Diavolo is also really unique in his own sense, and really that kind of goes along with the entire theme of the entire show, which is being all about the mafia and in Italy. It's just so damn distinctive and nothing like the previous seasons of JoJo. And again, that's what made me love it so damn much. I will say, again, just like Diavolo, I still felt that Giorno was maybe one of the weakest JoJo characters. Not that he was a bad character, I just felt that he wasn't really used all that much. Now, of course, that could be argued that Jotaro from Stardust Crusaders honestly didn't do much either. He was incredibly quiet and basically was just there to beat the crap out of things. But I don't know, I just found myself enjoying that character a lot more, and I think that Josuke is probably my favorite JoJo, just because of how incredibly wacky and fun and crazy he is. But Giorno still managed to be pretty interesting, and the entire aspect of him being Dio's son might as well really not even mean all that much at the end of the day. If anything, it's mostly incidental, and they don't get into it all that much in this series, which is kind of interesting, as I really felt that that was going to end up being something a little more important, but they barely acknowledge it at all, and it's mostly at the beginning of the series, and it's basically just something to connect it to the previous parts of the JoJo series. Other than that, like I said, the other cast of characters are all freaking great, with Mista basically being one of the standouts in my opinion. That was made even more apparent by the final 2 episodes here. To me, he's kind of like the Polnareff of this season. I felt that Jean-Pierre Polnareff in Stardust Crusaders was utilized more than any of the other side characters, and I think that's what they did a lot with Mista, and he might as well have been the main character of the entire season. That being said, Abakio's awesome, Narancia is hilarious, Fugo was underutilized, but I can understand why, and Bruno Bucciarati. What a great character. He has got to be one of my favorite JoJo characters overall, and getting to see his entire journey of gathering all of these people together, bringing them together to take down the boss, easily makes him one of the strongest and most awesome characters from the entire franchise as far as I'm concerned. The entire backdrop of Italy was gorgeous and something new. It gave it this really nice sort of summery feel that I really appreciated. It made it perfect that it actually ended during the summer. It was just the perfect type of series for that. Overall, really, I'm just gushing at this point. I really loved this show. Like the previous seasons of JoJo, in particular Stardust Crusaders, all the way through here at the very end of Golden Wind, I think these are 3 perfect seasons. Yeah, there are problems. Yeah, there might be pacing issues. Sometimes the art might not be that amazing. But overall, as a full package in terms of the story that it's telling, the amazing characters, the absolute creativity, the color scheme, which absolutely just erupts off the screen, makes this, again, one of the strongest anime experiences that I have ever had. I loved this series, and that's why I'm going to give the final 2 episodes 5 out of 5. I'm going to give the entire season a 5 out of 5. Yes, I'm going to gild the lily a little bit. There were a few episodes that I gave a 4 out of 5, maybe even some that were 3. But overall, as an entire experience, I think this is a great way to digest this story. Now, of course, this is coming from someone who has not read the manga of JoJo, so I can't really speak for that. But I imagine that the artwork is probably amazing. If it looked this good in anime form, it's gotta look great in manga format as well. Basically, check this show out. I loved it. I'm going to go ahead and end it right here, guys. You heard my thoughts about the final 2 episodes, my thoughts about the entire season. I want to hear yours. Sound off in the comment section. Make sure to tell me what you thought about the final 2 episodes and the final moments of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind. What were your favorite moments from the series, favorite battles, favorite characters? How did you feel about the ending, the defeat of Diavolo? What did you think about the story of the sculptor at the very end? Could they actually continue the story with Giorno as the leader of this organization? And what do you want to see from the future of the franchise? According to my commenters and my subscribers, there's more JoJo out there, and there's apparently a Part 6 storyline. Again, I don't know anything about it, but I want to see more. Do you want to see more? Let's have a big discussion all about it in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. You can check out all of my previous reviews of the series in a playlist on the channel, and make sure to subscribe to Ace Guru for tons more anime reviews, topic discussions, top 10s, and even our weekly podcast show, which we haven't had in a while, but don't worry, it's coming back, I absolutely promise. We're actually getting ready to work on a new episode very soon, and I'm also getting ready to do my very first Patreon review. I'm working very hard on it. Speaking of which, if you want to go the extra mile and help support this channel, please check out my Patreon account. You'll also find a link for the PayPal. It'll all be in the description box below. Thank you all for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, arrivederci.